Today, we're going to explore one of the defining groups of trees in California, the native conifers. These are the trees that built California's mountain landscapes, shaped its forests, influenced its history, and produced some of the most extraordinary organisms on Earth. California is home to some of the tallest, largest, oldest, and most iconic trees ever known, and nearly all of them belong to this remarkable group. Conifers are among the oldest living groups of plants on Earth. Their evolutionary history stretches back more than 300 million years, long before flowering plants appeared and even before dinosaurs evolved. Although many ancient conifer groups have disappeared, their descendants still dominate forests across much of the world today. When you walk through a redwood grove, stand behind a giant sequoia, or hike through a pine forest in the Sierra Nevada, you are walking among lineages whose ancestors existed hundreds of millions of years ago. The word conifer comes from the Latin words conus, meaning cone, and fere, meaning to bear. Simply put, conifers are cone-bearing plants. Most reproduce through male and female cones rather than flowers and fruits. Instead of producing enclosed seeds like flowering plants, their seeds typically develop on the scales of cones. Worldwide, there are roughly 600 to 650 species of conifers. Although that is a relatively small number compared to the hundreds of thousands of flowering plant species, conifers dominate some of the most important forests on Earth. They are found on every continent except Antarctica and occur in environments ranging from temperate rainforests and Mediterranean climates to alpine mountains and subarctic regions. North America contains one of the richest collections of conifers on the planet. The western United States, in particular, is considered a global center of conifer diversity. California sits at the heart of that diversity. In fact, California supports more native conifer species than any other state in the United States. Depending on the taxonomic treatment used, California has approximately 50 to 60 native conifer species and varieties. One of the reasons California supports such incredible conifer diversity is its geography. The state contains coastlines, valleys, deserts, foothills, and mountain ranges that create an enormous variety of climates and elevations. In California, it is possible to travel from sea level to more than 14,000 feet in elevation in a single day. Each change in elevation creates different environmental conditions, allowing different conifer species to occupy their own ecological niches. One of the first characteristics that people notice about conifers is their foliage. Unlike most broadleaf trees, conifers typically have needle-like or scale-like leaves. These leaves are adaptions that help many species conserve water, tolerate cold temperatures, and survive in environments where growing conditions can be harsh. Their thick cuticles and relatively small surface areas reduce water loss and improve drought tolerance. Conifers are also famous for being evergreen. Most retain their foliage year-round, gradually replacing older needles over time rather than shedding all of their leaves at once. However, it is important to remember that not all conifers are evergreen. A few species, including the western lark found outside California and the dawn redwood of China, are deciduous conifers that lose all of their foliage each year. Perhaps no tree better symbolizes California than the coast redwood. Coast redwoods are the tallest trees on Earth. Some individuals exceed 370 feet in height, making them taller than a 35-story building. These extraordinary trees occur naturally along a narrow strip of the Pacific coast from southwestern Oregon into central California, where cool temperatures, winter rainfall, and frequent summer fog create ideal growing conditions. Coast redwoods possess several remarkable adaptations. Their bark can exceed a foot thick and contains relatively high concentrations of compounds that provide resistance to insects and decay. They can reproduce both by seed and by sprouting from burls and root systems, allowing them to recover from disturbances and persist for centuries. Their ability to capture moisture from fog also contributes to their success in coastal environments. The ecological importance of coast redwoods is immense. Redwood forests store enormous amount of carbon and are among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. Their canopies create complex habitats that support birds, mammals, amphibians, ferns, and entire communities of organisms that live high above the forest floor. Some scientists even describe redwood canopies as ecosystems unto themselves. Another legendary California conifer is the giant sequoia. Although not as tall as coast redwoods, giant sequoias are the largest trees on Earth by volume. Some contain more wood than any other living organism on the planet. These giants occur naturally in scattered groves on the western slopes of the Sierra Nevada. Giant sequoias are famous for their tremendous longevity. Many living trees are more than 2,000 years old, and some individuals are estimated to exceed 3,000 years of age. Imagine a tree that was already centuries old when the Roman Republic existed and was still standing during the construction of modern cities. One of the most fascinating aspects of giant sequoia ecology is their relationship with fire. Historically, low to moderate intensity fires regularly moved through sequoia groves. Fire reduced competing vegetation, recycled nutrients, and created favorable conditions for seeding establishment. Although giant sequoias possess thick bark that provides remarkable fire resistance, severe fires occurring under modern conditions can still cause substantial damage and mortality. Another tree that is often mistaken for a true fir is Douglas-Fir. Despite its common name, Douglas-Fir is neither a true fir nor a pine. It belongs to its own genus and is one of the most economically important timber species in North America. Douglas-Fir can often be identified by its cones, which possess distinctive three-point bracts that protrude between the cone scales. Many people remember these bracts as resembling the hind legs and tails of mice hiding inside the cone. Douglas firs can grow exceptionally large and may live for several centuries. Ecologically, Douglas firs are foundation species in many western forests. They provide habitat for wildlife, stabilize soils, influence watershed processes, and contribute significantly to forest productivity. Economically, Douglas fir has been one of North America's most valuable lumber species for construction, engineering, and wood products. White fir is another important California conifer that occurs throughout many mountain forests. White fir is often recognized by its flattened needles that tend to curve upward from the branch, giving foliage sprays a somewhat layered appearance. The needles are generally blue-green in color and release a pleasant, citrus-like scent when crushed. White fir plays important ecological roles in mixed conifer forests, providing shade, wildlife habitat, and structural diversity. However, white fir has become increasingly important in discussions of forest management because decades of fire suppression have contributed to increase in white fir density in some forests, influencing competition and fire behavior. Incense cedar is one of California's most recognizable conifers. Mature trees often develop deeply furrowed, reddish-brown bark and graceful, spire-like crowns. Their scale-like foliage produces a pleasant aroma when crushed, giving rise to the common name incense cedar. Incense cedar wood is resistant to decay and has been valued for numerous products. Historically, it became especially important in the manufacturing of pencils because of its straight grain and workability. Ecologically, incense cedar contributes to forest diversity and provides food and cover for numerous wildlife species. No lesson on California conifers would be complete without mentioning the Great Basin Bristlecone Pine. Although most people never encounter one in everyday life, this species possesses one of the most extraordinary records in the natural world. Great Basin Bristlecone pines grow in harsh, high-elevation environments of the White Mountains along California's eastern border. Twisted by wind, cold, and drought, these trees often appear ancient and weathered, yet they are among the longest living organisms on Earth. Some living individuals exceed 4,800 years of age, meaning they were already ancient before the pyramids of Egypt were built. One reason bristlecone pines live so long is their incredibly slow growth and dense resinous wood. Their harsh environments also limit many insects and pathogens that might otherwise damage them. Bristlecones remind us that longevity in trees is often linked to survival strategies that prioritize persistence rather than rapid growth. Conifers perform extraordinary ecological services. Their forests store vast amounts of carbon, regulate water movement, protect watersheds, reduce erosion, moderate local climates, and provide habitat for countless organisms. Snowpack accumulation and gradual snowmelt in many California mountain forests are heavily influenced by conifer ecosystems, making these forests critically important to California's water resources. Conifers have also profoundly shaped human history. Indigenous peoples throughout California utilized conifers for food, medicine, tools, shelter, canoes, and ceremonial purposes. Pine nuts from certain pines served as important food resources. Redwood and cedar wood were used in construction and cultural practices. For thousands of years, people have relied on conifers in ways that extended far beyond simple timber production. Modern society continues to depend heavily upon conifers. Their wood is used in construction, paper products, furniture, landscaping, restoration projects, and countless other applications. Conifers also support recreation, tourism, watershed protection, and carbon storage. Millions of people travel to California each year simply to experience the awe of standing among redwoods and giant sequoias. From an arboricultural perspective, conifers require us to think differently than many broadleaf trees. Understanding species-specific growth habits is essential. Many conifers exhibit strong apical dominance and naturally develop X-current forms with a central leader. Preserving that central leader is often critical for maintaining structural integrity. When assessing conifers, pay close attention to species, site conditions, crown density, needle coloration, resin production, dead tops, root disturbances, and evidence of insect or disease activity. Conifers frequently provide early indicators of stress through chlorosis, needle retention patterns, reduced growth, or resin flow. Pruning objectives should generally emphasize structural development, risk reduction, and preservation of natural form. Excessive interior thinning and lion-tailing should be avoided. Removal of dominant leaders can permanently alter architecture and create defects in species that naturally depend upon a central stem. Young trees often benefit most from early structural pruning and establishing of proper branch spacing. Perhaps the greatest lesson California native conifers teach us is one of time and resilience. These trees have survived massive climatic shifts, volcanic eruptions, droughts, floods, fires, and countless generations of change. Some species alive today have persisted for thousands of years, and entire lineages have existed for hundreds of millions. The next time you walk beneath a redwood, see a giant sequoia rising from the Sierra Nevada, smell the bark of an incense cedar, or hold a pine cone in your hand, remember that you are looking at some of the oldest and most successful plant lineages in Earth's history. California's native conifers are far more than trees. They are living records of evolution, engineers of ecosystems, and enduring symbols of the remarkable diversity of the natural world.